The markets are pumping, breaking up past $72,000. Is this it? Is this the breakout we've all been waiting for? Is this about to pull back down and wash some people out? But we got to get into these charts. We're going to be diving in. We got a guest coming on today as well. A lot of really great data we're going to be looking at. So everybody, let's make sure you got your bags packed because we're going to be breaking down all the data that we need to make sure that you can stay on the right side of the trend. As we get going, everybody head over to at Kellam on Twitter or at Academy BitLab. Get that reposted, get that retweeted, show some love, get people in the room, getting people that unbiased look at what's going on in these markets. We're going to be diving in here in just a second. I want to see the bulls flying in the live chat right now. Just absolutely spam it with that bull emoji if you're a BitLab member. If not, just type bull, 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 because these markets are setting up for something super exciting. Before we dive into it, I think we have some music that we got to listen to. So let's go ahead and get that set. Let's be vibing. Let's go.
Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. SEC and its policies rely on whatever Gary thinks. Bitcoin to flight to quality. I heard that from Larry Fink. Every hour losing purchasing power on foolish out there. It's not our fault. Blame the coal. It's the political cowards. When it comes to gas, our purchasing power just got cut in half. I sit back and laugh, open my bag, fill it with stacks and sats. Bitcoin pumping, altcoins pumping. I've been preparing for this. Can't tell me nothing.
And I believe crypto will play that type of role as a flight to quality. We are hearing from clients around the world.
Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this.
And I believe crypto will play that type of role.
Bitcoin, pump, altcoin, pump.
We are hearing from clients around the world.
Can't nobody tell me nothing.
Crypto, depending
That's
on how
right.
you think
It's
about
fine.
it.
You've
And I
all been
believe
stacking
crypto will
in the
play that
last
type of
many
role
months.
as a
Can't
flight
nobody
to
tell me
quality.
nothing.
The price is
Bitcoin,
pushing up. We got
pump.
this track
We're
from
hearing
Corey
from
Rice.
clients around the
He's here
world.
in the live stream right now. And this is the perfect time to be playing this track because Bitcoin is ripping. We are looking at what's going on in this market. We're about to dive in. Everybody, if you're ready to dive in here, throw a one in chat. I want to see some activity. I want to see it's all engaged. Roll call. Let's go. Let's talk about these markets. What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good pumpy motherfucking night, wherever you're tuned in from. We are looking at what's going on in these charts right now, and we see Bitcoin is pushing up. Look at this. I cannot believe we're seeing this again. 71,948. We've already tapped above into that $72,000 region. If I put my mouse over this, you can see OHLC. That's open, high, low, close of whatever candle my mouse is over. And the high so far, $72,059. We got to talk about what's going on because this is just feeling so good. It's as if when we talked about this potential roundingness that we saw here, when we started establishing a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Not only do we have a high from this region, we broke this and we have effectively actually broken above this level right here. This is what this green line is. And of course, the next level up is the previous all-time high in this market, which is about $73,600, $73,700. All things are lining up. We've been talking about this for about 6 months since this yellow line right here, which is April 19th. That was the halving. And on that date, I posted charts. I showed you. I outlined on that date. Let's pull up that chart. I outlined this zone right here. You see this box, vertical box, and I outlined exactly what we were looking at in previous cycles, the last 2 4-year cycles. Once we had the halving, we were looking for something past 160 days. In this case, look at this. I outlined the box roughly around this zone. I just want to point out something. Look at exactly when the price actually started pumping. When we pushed into this box, a little bit of a correction, and we are pushing out. It's almost as if there is a map on this price and cycle about what may happen based on previous cycles. And this is exactly what we're getting yet again right now. But I want you all to make sure that you do not get yourself into trouble. Because we got this pump does not mean it's up only. If you're on the monthly chart, it likely will be up only for the next about, maybe 8 to 12 months, maybe a little longer. We're going to have to see how it plays out. We have to pay attention to the incredible amount of bullishness that is in this market right now that has been lining up all to the best asymmetric risk opportunity that we've ever seen in this market. So let's not get, if we get a little bit of a sell-off here, let's look for opportunity zones that are in this. And as always, this is not financial advice. This is strategy breakdown, what's going on in this market. So let's dive in and look at what's going on. Again, if this is your first time here, welcome to the BitLab Academy stream. My name is Kellam, director of BitLab Academy here, and I'm here to keep you on the right side of these trends with meaningful tools, content, community, positive, uplifting community, so we can start the day with gratitude. Because it's not about making money, everybody. This is about changing our futures, our ability to help those in our life, our ability to be a productive person in this world, not just making money and buying boats and all that kind of nonsense. Maybe you can buy a boat, maybe you can buy a few extra cars, but that's not the point here. The point here is, can you impact the people around you in a positive way? So considering that, I want every single one of you right now to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, ding the bell, and make sure you head over to, let's go ahead and pull it up. Make sure you head over to my page right here at Kellam and or at Academy BitLab, and you hit that retweet. Let's just break records today. Hit that retweet, hit that like button. You get entered to win. And I do want to just shout out again one more time that deal that you see on the screen. Let me go ahead and pull it back up. That deal that you see right there, lab.bitlabacademy.com/deal. Remember, when we break past $73,800, which is $73,800, that is the previous sort of range high that we had March 13th. That's when this deal goes away. When you sign up there, you get access to our Discord and also the ability to upgrade and get the 120 different lessons. You get the indicators, all that and more. The Discord portion is 15 days free and then over 30% off for the life of your account. If you want to upgrade, then that will be immediate. You don't get the 15 days free on that, but you do get over, I think it's 30-something% off for the life of the account. And again, I want to shout out Crypto Corey Wrights. And that is his page right here. He's the one that basically produced that track that we use at the beginning of the stream. So special shout out to him for letting us use that. When I heard it, I said, yo, this is perfect for what we're doing here, getting the vibes going. So shout out to everybody here that's involved. I think it's time to dive in. We got some charts we got to show. We got a guest coming on here in a little bit. So let's get to it. I want to see y'all active in the chat. Become a member here on the YouTube if you're not a member over there at BitLab Academy. In the Discord and all that kind of stuff, because we got so much going on here. And, I broke it down a little bit in the Discord this morning about what we were looking at, the fact that we have very little liquidity above us, a lot of liquidity below us. But I feel like the bullish winds are just starting to carry this, and the pressure is just too great for this to have downside. But that doesn't mean you forget risk management. You still want to make sure that you're paying attention to what your strategy is so that you can stay on the right side of this, because we are about to have life-changing gains in this market for everybody that is stacked in. Looking at the crypto bubbles map, I mean, look at this. MOG is up 14%. SUI up. Remember, we had a pretty big pullback, up 20%. Doge up, is this starting to show retail's getting more involved, or are these whales stacking ahead of that retail flow? Pendle also up. We see Ondo making some moves. Stacks up 9%. We're seeing some bullishness in this market. In fact, the total market cap is up over $2.4 trillion. And we're getting that Bitcoin dominance closing in. Here it says 58.6, but I do know on the chart on TradingView, it's over 50. It's like 59.7 or something like that. And shout out to into the Cryptoverse, Benjamin Kellam, because he's been calling for 60% dominance for over a year now. So special shout out to him. So let's talk about what we want to talk about. We're going to go through some charts fairly quickly here, some data, and then we got a guest coming on here in just a little bit. So let's talk about what's going on. Plan C says Bitcoin has tons of room to run. For those of you that don't know what running means, it means a push to the upside. Thanks to 8 months of consolidation, for the first time ever, we're at base camp and near all-time highs. What is he talking about? Base camp, this is the entity adjusted, meaning they try to cut out when, say, I have 15 wallets, it kind of narrows it down in ways that they can try and identify individual people versus every wallet individually. So we're seeing here, this is a short-term holder, unrealized profit and loss. Previous cycles, we've had this sort of flip back down, but then look at this. Once this flipped, this was just unrealized profits all the way up. Same thing back here. Once this flipped, unrealized profits all the way back up. But what we're seeing in this cycle so far is that we've gotten a lot of profit. We came back to zero, gotten a lot of profit, came back to zero. We've set a pretty strong baseline, which one could argue is that we are in a stronger position moving forward because we're not already sitting in a lot of profits that the market can, basically it makes it harder to distinguish whether or not you are overheated or not. This is showing we have built an incredible baseline for the bullishness that is to come. So if you can get behind that, type bull, bull, bull in chat because this thing is starting to heat up. It's been building into this for the last 7-8 months. We are on that time scale that we've talked about since April 19th of that 170, 180-ish days. We are right on schedule. We got the global liquidity ticking to the upside. We got a huge date here coming in, I think about a week and sometime next week. Chinese stimulus. In fact, let's pull that up. I don't think I saved it on here. It's Quentin is the one that posted it. Let's pull up our buddy Quentin and look at this chart. Where is it at? Right here. Breaking. China is about to approve $1.4 trillion worth. This is not the yuan. This is actually valued in dollars. The $1.4 trillion worth of fiscal stimulus package. We've been talking about this global liquidity cycle. In this case, the People's Bank of China. When this ticks up, this has a huge impact on the pressure, the buying pressure, the gas in the car to drive up the mountain, aka price risk in markets, pushing prices like the stock market and crypto to higher prices. And this happens on such a regularity. And look at this. We're having it yet again right on schedule on that 170, 180 days post Bitcoin halving. At the same time, we have the election going on next week. And regardless of who wins, we need to realize we can be bipartisan in this when we understand what the value of Bitcoin is. Regardless of who wins, Bitcoin will do well. If Trump wins, the crypto market as a whole will likely do better because of his stance on the crypto, the broader crypto market. Altcoins will do a lot better. If Kamala and that administration continues on, we may see a little bit of de-risking in the altcoin market. But either way, I want you to understand, either way, once the election has passed, some of these sort of uncertainty that we've seen in especially crypto over this last month, and yes, we are going to the upside. October, everybody was questioning it that first 10 days or so, and now we are actively pushing to the upside. But once we get the certainty of what the next administration is going to be, I do think that we're going to start seeing some fireworks in the market. So let's stay tuned for that. In addition to that, a lot of people are saying, man, but all this open interest, isn't this ripe for a pretty big correction? Shout out to Falco. Super Chat says, slap that like button for the professor of the BitLab Academy, pumping that knowledge, rain or shine, baby. Big love to you, my friend. I'm going to throw that on the screen. Let's make it big. Shout out to Falco, always in here, popping up the good vibes in here. I appreciate each one of you that does super chats and your BitLab members. You guys have no idea how much that helps take care of the people on the back end, because it's not just me here. We got a whole team of people that pull all this together, and I do appreciate each and every one of you. I'm grateful to be in this market. I'm grateful to be a part of this community with you, and I'm grateful that I can be a resource to you. I hope that I've helped you in some capacity. In fact, let me know in the live chat right now if you have. Bitcoin Bandicoot, how you doing? Good morning to you as well. But we got to continue on because we've got quite a bit of things we got to get through, and that is this. Open interest is so high. That means we got to crash, right? Well, open interest has risen to 22.6 billion. And here's the kicker, with half of these positions held by bears, meaning you got a pretty good equilibrium of people betting long and people betting short. Now that does call, remember we were talking about the Bollinger Bands on the 2-week chart about a week ago, how tight they were. And every time they've been that tight, we've gotten a pretty big move in volatility in the markets. Now, because we got the highest open interest we've ever had, but we do have a pretty decent equilibrium between bulls and bears, this does set up the situation that I have been talking about, which is that sort of whipsaw price action. Commit people long, flush out the shorts, and then basically get people, a lot more people betting long, and then only to reverse to flush out the longs, and then reverse and finally have that. We do have that scenario that can play out, but as it stands right now, we're getting a pretty good equilibrium. So it's a little bit healthier than the total open interest makes it seem like. Now, what do we do when we check out content online? We hit that like button. We show some love. Now let's continue on. We got 429 people in the house right now. Big love to each and every one of you. Again, I just want to remind you, shout out, head over to my page right here or at Academy BitLab. Let me copy that link. Head over there. If you're watching on Twitter, just go down and hit that retweet, hit that like button right here. Boom, boom. If you are on YouTube, head over to that link. I just put it in the live chat. Show some love. And again, if you want the links for the free traders group, and by the way, let me just shout that out really quick. Coming over to the free traders group right in here. Oops, what happened? Right here. I've been sharing a couple trades the last 2 days, what's going on in here. But in addition to that, the scalp trades, it's just been crushing in here. And it's free traders group. Get involved there. The link is also directly below right here. If you go right here, I don't know what happened to my screen. There we go. My screen turned off there for a second. If you click right here on the description, there's a link. Join our free traders group. Boom, boom, boom. We got a bunch of the courses that are coming out on that too that you'll have access to for free. All you have to do, go through this link, sign up with CoinW, trade with us in there. And then, of course, remember, we are about to stack into the most bullish phase in this cycle. And I want to make sure you guys protect yourself. Head over to nordvpn.com/BitLab. The link is right here. You get 4 extra months free. Sign up, get a VPN set up. It's a VPN service I've been using for about 4 or 5 years. I made sure we had the best deal for you that is out there. 4 months free. And again, right there, nordvpn.com/BitLab. I will post that in the live chat as well. And I got 2 more charts, I think, and then we're going to be diving in with our guest here in just a moment. Global liquidity up, great. Institutional demand, custodial wallets rising, 278,000 Bitcoin flowed into US Bitcoin spot ETFs versus 670 into whale wallets. Stacking up. Whales don't stack at highs. Whales stack before the move, and the base we've set up is incredible. In fact, we can also see right here, a very interesting chart from TechDev, a friend of mine here in the space. I want you to notice this last cycle, we never got the Chaikin money flow. That's what the CMF is here. The Chaikin money flow, essentially the money flow into the asset class, never broke above this line in the last cycle. It was a bit muted. So I've been saying this since, way back here, that I feel like this is going to look a lot more like we saw in 2017. And this is what we are seeing. We're seeing the Chaikin money flow break out, and look at where this was in this cycle before this monster move from down here sub 1,000. I think it was around 400 or 500, all the way up to about $19,000. And we are just now getting that breakout on the Chaikin money flow as well. This is on the 4-week chart, essentially the monthly chart. And then last thing I wanted to show, Coinbase premium gap. We don't need to talk about that, but this right here, RSI breaking above, you can't see it under my face, but breaking above this line right here, which happened right here. It came back to retest that a bit, 17 bars, same thing, broke above the moving average. It did have that sort of global catastrophe washout right in here, but the reset before the launch, 17 bars, again, broke out, came back and testing this. Right now, we've been about 18 bars. The market has just been setting up more and more bullish. We can get into that, and altcoins as well. But before we go any further, I do want to say how proud I am of each and every single one of you for being in this market. If you feel like it's been frustrating over the last 7 months, when now you look back and realize that it's been setting a base for that next major run to the upside, I am here for it. You are here for it. Let's make sure that we don't mess this up, because this is the best opportunity of our lives. So now coming back over to our boy right here, Mr. Matthew Hyland. How are you doing, good sir? How are you feeling? The market, it's doing it.
Yeah, it's moving up right now. It's new local highs, 72K, elections in a week from now. We discussed this for months and months and months. You could hear me, right?
Yeah, I just forgot.
Okay.
I didn't assign your screen. I got you on there.
we've discussed this for so many months, for basically since I don't even know July timeframe. I've just been saying the same thing over and over. That as we head into the election, we'll probably start to trend upward. This was actually, I drew this out back in August, right? And you've probably seen it on my Twitter account right here. Oops. I drew this out back in August. I have not touched it. And this is, I mean, it's just luck that ended up playing out exactly how I drew this out, but it was also just based on history. This is based on election cycles. Same thing we saw in 2012, 2016, 2020. It's the same thing. It's playing out exactly the same. So it's, this looks great. If we look at Bitcoin on, let me see. Let me remove some of this stuff now. If we look at Bitcoin on the weekly time frame right now, this weekly candle right now is now officially going for its highest candle close ever. Like, we have never seen a candle close higher than 71.6K or 5K about.
So Matthew, I do want to say we're breaking to the highest point we've been since essentially March 13th, right? And we're dual stream. We didn't dual stream back then on Twitter and YouTube. So I want every single one of you that's in the chat, and I want you to do it too, Matthew. I just tagged you. I retweeted this. I said, Matthew Highland is in here, dropping some alpha. Get in here. Let's get as many people on this stream. Let's break records today because the market is about to break some records. Let's go, because Matthew, you've been so spot on with so many of us get so wrapped into 15-minute time frames, hour, 4 hour, and you're looking at the weekly, you're looking at sometimes a 3-day, but you have been calling this, especially since this trend reversal, you've been calling this absolutely spot on. So I'm going to let you continue to take it away.
Yep, I'm retweeting this right now. We good to go. Posted. All right, I retweeted that on Twitter. Yeah, it's kind of cool to see something. We've discussed this for a while. And in retrospect, right, when we were back sitting in July and August, October, November felt so far away. It's like, oh, we have to wait so long. And now we're here. We're basically at the moment of, where this is about to go. I mean, barring something drastic, at this point, this is like 85% chance, I'd say. This is going to end up breaking out to the upside. Maybe 75K causes some trouble, maybe for a short period of time. Maybe not though. I think it's still like I view it that this is just setting up the same way as it did back here in 2020, and this is just favoring this complete breakout. I'm not sure why there's not enough history on this chart. Let me go to a different one. You go back to 2020. Way back here, I'm going to zoom in on the weekly time frame. And when Bitcoin cleared this 20K right here for good, it went just straight vertical. We saw it start with a almost 100% move, just green weekly candles. And I think that's where we're at.
I can't wait.
And I know, like, we did kind of create the all-time highs earlier in the year. It ended up just, in retrospect, it ended up just getting ahead of itself, and now we're back right back on track. This was December of 2020. It's about to be November of 2024, so maybe we're a month ahead, month and a half. We're not really far ahead as we were back in January when we were breaking to all-time highs. That was really ahead of schedule, 10 months ahead of schedule, essentially, but we ended up paying for it, and now we're out on the other side, and I think things are about to get really interesting, especially
Matt,
for Bitcoin.
What's really crazy about this is the setup is so incredibly strong right now that we've been building the last 7 months. And then we have the election next month. And again, regardless of what direction it goes, the certainty that it will bring, because that narrative of what's going to happen is gone. And then shortly after that, I think over the first 2 weeks of December, we have some incredible, basically continuation, very strong bullish catalyst with the 16 billion from FTX starting to get redistributed out, with Microsoft basically voting. I think it's December 10th or 11th on whether or not they're going to hold Bitcoin. Then we also have the FASB rules that are basically going live. I think around December 7th or somewhere in that 7th or 8th, the first week and a half, the storylines of positive narrative of things that can really sustain this further is just incredible for what we're seeing in the coming months.
And there will be no bigger catalyst for the altcoin space, perhaps even ever, than Gary Gensler getting thrown out. You can't understate the amount of I'm not trying to hype it up. It's just it's a whole new landscape. It's a whole new, like, people don't understand. And I made this post yesterday. I said massive speculation coming. It started in 2021, but with the underlying rot and lack of regulation, it was hard for it to proceed. So if we go back to 2020, 2021, at the time, there was VC interest, right? A lot of the coins that we know of, like, I don't know, Cardano, for example, had massive runs because there was some institutional demand, VCs buying it. But then underneath that all, we all knew that there was a lot of rot, right? There was a lot of shenanigans going behind the scenes. A lot of the money, smarter money, was aware of this, that they knew that this wasn't the perfect landscape by any means. And at that time too, back in 2020, 2021, there was no regulation at all. And I'm not for regulation, but the reality is that there was going to be regulation. But the result of 2022 ended up with the most strictest possible regulation that you could possibly have. So we went from basically the wild, wild west to where anything was allowed to go. That's how FTX and all those other exchanges were allowed to operate, doing whatever they want. We went from one extreme to the other, which was too much regulation, where it's almost impossible to do anything with crypto right now. No one wants to invest in this space because at any point the SEC could just file a lawsuit against your coin that you are invested in, or your project, or your actual, the actual VCs. We saw actual VCs getting hit by the SEC for investing in certain coins. They were saying, I don't remember the exact details, but they were essentially saying that they were, investing in coins that they didn't think were appropriate, or something that they thought were securities, but they weren't labeled securities. So this whole space was just too confusing for any smart money to really start to move in. But we did see it start in 2020 and 2021. Well, really 2021. And then it got cut off. It ended. But now, if we do see this change in a week from now, and then actually really in January, this whole thing just gets completely you don't know what's coming. That's what I said. You have no idea what is coming for crypto, because we don't know what's coming, right? When this space is back to being attractive, investable, we have no idea. This could gain legs that we can't even imagine, that we can't even think of now. You might see, who knows, like Apple or something, Microsoft building, we saw that back in 2021. We saw that they were, kind of looking into Ethereum and crypto and blockchain and building stuff. And then kind of all that stuff has really just died. We've seen like little things here and there, but it's nothing major. But most people aren't thinking about that right now. Most people are like, oh, this space is just not really attractive. Like, we get, Gary Gensler thrown out, maybe we'll see like some retail come back, but who knows? This could gain legs. We don't know where it's
going.
To
the point I was just saying about Microsoft, I don't think people realize whether or not it happens or not, meaning that they actually get Bitcoin on their balance sheet or buy Bitcoin ETF exposure. That post put every major tech company on notice. What's our plan? They're all asking that because they don't want to, if one person or if one company makes a move 6 months before another, it could spell a multi-trillion-dollar difference in, over the next several years. And so I do think that this is much bigger catalyst. Even the fact that the shareholders are going to be discussing this, and the fact that some of the largest shareholders are also BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. And remember, BlackRock, one of their primary holders is Vanguard, meaning who owns BlackRock.
Yep.
And BlackRock has the largest Bitcoin spot ETF. So it seems too good to be true. But I cannot wait for what's to come, especially within this market. And altcoins, I do think they're going to have their day in the sun, but I think that Bitcoin is going to be kind of outpacing some things for some time.
It's hard to really say. So if you go back to last cycle, the dominance, Bitcoin's dominance, essentially topped around the same time. This was December the second, this was almost just about 10 days. If I were to break it down, let me go to the actual day. So Bitcoin broke all-time highs on December 16th, 2020. So this was around January 3rd. So about 2 weeks after Bitcoin cleared all-time highs for good, the Bitcoin dominance topped. So I think with the potential change in the SEC and stuff, that I think the dominance might probably top at some point soon. But that's also usually when Bitcoin sees its largest gains. When Bitcoin dominance drops during this time period, this was when Bitcoin went from around $20,000 up to around or $69,000 at that time. So Bitcoin dominance dropped, but Bitcoin's price surged. Like that's when Bitcoin does its best. So and then this also happened back here. So whenever this happens, whenever Bitcoin drops, like this was December of 2017, Bitcoin went from around $8,000 to $20,000 in that month. Bitcoin dominance dropped that whole way, but Bitcoin price went up. So
Well,
I think
we need to be very aware also that the composition of holders in this market is, I think, going to start to change pretty dramatically because of the institutional involvement, not just from ETFs, but because the fair value accounting rules are going live mid-December. That changes their ability to hold there too. But even on the Bitcoin spot ETFs, I think people need to realize people aren't going to be taking profits from their spot ETFs and then rotating that into altcoins. So even if we do get that pullback, I do think the altcoin market is going to have its day in the sun, many days in the sun this cycle. We may not get dominance falling as far as it would have, or maybe it has in previous cycles because of the different types of players that are going to be holding in an entirely different game than has historically happened in cycles.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't have a strong enough opinion. I'd say I like the Bitcoin ETF does allow the access to Wall Street, but there is ways where they can invest in alts, especially through the VCs. We did start to see this, so it's hard to say. And usually when things go up a lot with any market, usually like the main coin would be like, for example, Bitcoin gets all the attention, but then eventually people want to speculate down the risk curve, and that just always happens no matter what market you're looking at. Like with gold, when gold goes up, then silver and other metals follow at some point, and they usually end up outperforming because they're smaller. So I think this will end up just playing out similar to last cycle, even with the ETF for Bitcoin, because I think the market for the alts especially has been held underwater very, very much just because of the regulation stuff. And if that changes, I think it's just going to kind of shift. I think the narrative will kind of shift back more toward the alts at that point, in my opinion. And it's not going to hurt Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's going to do great. And I actually think like you said, with what Microsoft is doing, we could start to see more and more companies do that because it's proven, or it's being shown to be profitable for MicroStrategy. It's working out really well for MicroStrategy, and it's just an easy way. A lot of these companies have a lot of extra cash just sitting there, and they're seeing MicroStrategy essentially use their cash essentially from the start to buy Bitcoin, and now it's just done well for them. So they all have to look into that, and it's just going to get more and more attention. The more MicroStrategy goes up, the more other companies are going to be inclined to look at that. And really, any company in the stock market could potentially do it. It doesn't have to just be the larger ones like Microsoft and Apple. We could see random companies start to say, like McDonald's or something, oh, we're gonna add Bitcoin to our balance. Like any company can do that, and it doesn't hurt. And it might be like I don't know, who knows? It could be just a popular thing to do. It gives you good publicity, like adding Bitcoin gives you, so we'll see where this goes. If we look at like Bitcoin right now, it's moving up more. It's around 72.5K. If it gets through, I'm going to remove this at this point. This is going for a breakout right here. There's not much else to say. We're just going to wait now and basically see if this ends up breaking out. If we close the weekly above this high, the last highest weekly candle ever, great sign. If we end up closing this weekly above at new all-time highs, obviously great. If we look at Ethereum, I was saying this yesterday for Ethereum because a lot of people are very down on it right now. But you look at this, right? We made a higher high right here, then we pulled back, another higher low. This is just higher lows. Now we have the higher high. The next higher high really at this point needs to break through this resistance, right? It's going to come up here. It would come up to 2770 level. But if it makes a higher high, it would have to essentially break through this resistance. So if this happens, then Ethereum's going to probably take off. And Ethereum, even though sentiment is super down on it, compared to last cycle, it's not even down as much. It's down, I think, 47% ish. But if you go back to last cycle, when Ethereum or when Bitcoin broke all-time highs in December, Ethereum was down almost 60% still. So it was down a lot less, or it was down a lot more compared to where it is now last cycle. And despite it being down 60% last cycle, what happened ended up being the result after that? It went up and it outperformed Bitcoin. Yeah, and it's people, the sentiment was a little bit better, I'd say, because it had more upside back here. If you bought down here at these lows, back at $100, you were up actually 6x at that point. So you were actually, you had a good position, but even if you bought down here, Ethereum down at the low, back at $900, you're up 3x currently. But it is what it is. As these coins get larger, the gains will probably diminish for Bitcoin and Ethereum, but also the downside won't be as bad. And as we're seeing right now, Ethereum is not down as much as it was last cycle at this point. So I think it'll just continue to follow history. And when Bitcoin clears its all-time high, I think it'll start to see something similar to this, where it's just going to moon upward and then go up to its all-time high at some point. Probably this happened really fast, right? This was within a month. Within 1 month of Bitcoin clearing its all-time high, Ethereum was at all-time high. Actually, maybe a little bit more, maybe like a month and a week. So like 40 days. So imagine 40 days from now, we're sitting in maybe right before Christmas or mid-December, and Ethereum's at $5,000. I mean, that's what happened last cycle. So,
and I just want to shout out. Because we got 1,260 people watching on Twitter, about 200 on YouTube. Everybody, if you are new here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. If you're watching on Twitter, hit that retweet, hit that like button. You get entered. We do a weekly drawing. We give away merchandise, crypto, stable coins, all kind of different stuff every week. So show some love there. And if you are watching, from YouTube, make sure you are following Matthew Highland _ right here. Such great content. Now I'm going to want to get back into this. I do want to say, everybody was worried about where we're at, and this is days since cycle bottom. So when this cycle and then the last two cycles, when they bottomed, measured out, and we couldn't be more exactly on track for where, quote unquote, we should be based on the last two cycles. And it's just funny how bored people got. And it's one of those stories of when you reach ultimate boredom and frustration, that's typically when the market makes its move. And so do not get emotional here, even if we get a little bit of a sell-off, because look at this, we're 72.4. If this pulls back into 69,000, that wouldn't be the end of the world. It only would be testing this previous range high. So we need to be very careful right here. What do you sort of put right now on this bullish fervor that's starting to re-enter the market? Do you think this will be able just to sustain us from not breaking down into the 69 or 68? Because there's a huge amount of liquidity that's stacked up below us now. Or do you think this is potentially just going to get left behind?
I usually approach it from more of like a longer time frame, weekly time frame. So for me, it's just noise. If we come back down here, okay. It's like when we came up here, we made this low back here. I was just saying at that time, this is probably just going to end up being a higher low. And then when we moved up, I said, hey, if we do pull back, if we did come back down to 63K or 64K, it would just be another higher low. So if we end up getting a pullback once again, I would just look for a higher low. I think this is set up to really accelerate after the election. I think that's what it's setting up for. And I've been saying this for months and months and months and months now. And now here we are. And It doesn't matter. Like if we see a pullback, to me, it doesn't. Unless you're leverage trading, then you'd have to be concerned about it. But if you're mostly spot, you have your spot positions, then I just sit back and let this ride at this point. You don't have to do much, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, let's look at some of the other charts you got that, maybe some we've looked at before, but like what's others looking like, and are there any other altcoins that you've kind of had your eye on that like, damn, this looks strong or a good setup?
So Solana, I had posted a few times about this setup of this inverse head and shoulders. This is just a clean inverse head and shoulders pattern. The breakout target was around, I think, $219. So this has moved up nicely. So Solana's been moving up. If we go to others, I want to see this broken at some point. So this looks like a potential inverse head and shoulders. We didn't break it on this time, but we never actually tested up to it. If we ever break this $246 billion level, this would be massive. And the target would be basically the high from earlier in the year for others. And others is alts outside of the top 10. So this is more of your smaller cap coins. This looks set up, right? We'll see if this ends up breaking out over the coming weeks, but this does indeed look set up to eventually break out of this. It looks like a reversal bottom, in my opinion. If we keep going, let me see. Let me look at total 3. So this looks even better. So total 3, this includes or excludes Bitcoin and Ethereum. This is just a clean inverse head and shoulders pattern. This is super clean. Here's the neckline right here. We're basically about to test the neckline. Maybe this breaks out later today. Maybe this breaks out tomorrow. Just keep an eye on it. If this breaks out, then yeah, alts are about to run, and we can measure the target off of this. We'll take it from that wick actually, because that's basically the head. It would put us at $890 billion, which would be highs above from earlier in the year, but almost close to the all-time highs. So yeah, alts look ready. Bitcoin doing its thing right now. Ethereum right below resistance. The whole space, it just looks really good. I want to take a look at the stock market real fast. Let's see what the stock market's been doing. It's been the red the last 2 weeks. Usually the stock market as well usually moves up after the election. We've seen that historically as well. Let me go back. These were the last 3 elections, 2012, 2016, 2020. And afterwards, you saw a lot of upside. And none of that was priced in. It was, it happened after. The markets just like to wait for the elections to happen. Despite we had a Republican, a Democrat, and then the Democrat back here. So it didn't matter who won. The market ended up going up after. And that's just how it goes. And it looks like it's doing the same thing. This is a little bit stronger. So the stock market going up will help crypto when there's more money in the system. Let me take a look at the M2 money supply. Let me see if I can find that. Let me add that right here. See what that's looking like. U.S. money supply is also moving up.
Ooh, look at that curve, baby.
Yeah, this is at this rate. I think we did this a few weeks ago. Let's see when this would be. So by May, at this, like if it follows this trajectory, then by probably June or May, we're probably going to break out to new all-time highs for the M2 money supply. Maybe sooner than that, because it is kind of moving up. Can't really chart this specifically, but it looks like it's going to end up going to the highs. And then one of the things I've been hammering down on lately for Bitcoin, and I don't think I've discussed this with your audience yet. Let me go to this chart actually. So if you look back,
I love to see Bitcoin just ripping 72.5.
It's moving up. This is really important information, I'd say, that I'm going to discuss with everyone. So this was 2021, April of 2021. What did we say? A top, right? And we saw it move up. This was January. So it moved up from January to April, topped, and then went down. Now if we go to 2022, right here, this is first week of April. So from January to April, we moved up, topped, and then rolled over, right? And now we go to 2023, right? from January back here, we moved up, topped first week of April again. Now we go to
Do
this
you
year.
think you think that's a little bit of like the tried and true sort of pattern of seasonality that we've seen historically in stock market, people preparing for the sell in May, walk away trade over the summer?
Yeah, it probably has to do with that, and it's just we've just seen it now for 4 straight years, and then even this year in January, moved up. April, that was basically the top until now. So I'd say I'd say we probably are looking at upside until that time frame, April of 2025, maybe March, late March. Um, I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen, right? Let me put this out here for April. Potentially, right? Maybe maybe we see something like this where we move up into the April timeframe, and then we see a pullback, right? As we saw this year, once again into August, and then maybe maybe that ends up being the top, right? Maybe April is the top. Who knows? I don't know. But maybe then we make a double top, or maybe we actually just blow right through this and then put in our actual top uh, toward the end of the year, like we have done the last 3 cycles. Something like this wouldn't surprise me, right? To see something similar to that. I'm not sure how this is going to play out. You're like, I'd say like my guess is as good as yours as far as when we're going to top and how this is going to play out. But just based on the previous 4 years, based on the previous 2 years, we've gone through just a similar trend where we've gone up into that April timeframe and then kind of chopped. And then the last 2 years, starting around October, we start to move up again. So maybe we do that again, and then maybe in October, November, December, we end up topping for the cycle. I don't know, but I would say the best advice would be around that March, April timeframe. Consider strongly that could be the cycle top potentially, and just be more defensive, protect yourself, take profits. If you're in it now and you hold for the next few months and it goes up a lot and you're up a lot, reward yourself. Nothing's guaranteed, and let's say this actually did play out, right? And you end up selling around this time frame in this area, right, with your alts and Bitcoin, and you exit most of your positions. Well, if it came back down to this level, right, 70K or 75K, afterwards, you could re-enter right here and then just say, you know what, I'll enter at 75K area. But if it drops below, let's say like 69.4K, I'm out. I'll just wait. You know, uh, it would be about a 10% loss potentially, or 8% loss. But you also, if it ends up, rallying later on in the year, you might then see another 200, percent gain potentially, another 100% gain on top of that. So the risk
Well,
to reward right there would
what's
be pretty well.
interesting. You know what's interesting on that topic? I just measured this while you were talking, and
Mm.
that was actually very interesting. And that is, I just basically measured from the bottom here. I'm measuring days, right? Let's go over to April. Where is it at? Beginning of April, about right there. All right, so that's 821 days. If that were to happen, that would be an 821-day bull market, and this is actually it's pretty. Let's measure back from the top here. 600. Look at that. 800, basically roughly about where the bottom was. It's almost the same
Yeah.
amount of time of a bull market cycle. So as much as I want, I think it's my bullish bias, as much as I would like October 2025, 2025 to be the top, you can't ignore that last cycle had the same. I wonder what the one before that was. Let's go ahead and
Yeah.
actually, let's look at the last one as well. So here, let's measure back 800. Look at that. About 830, 840. That was the cycle bottom. Wow. So the last 2 cycles have been about 840 days. That would put it roughly about April of this next year. So I'll definitely be hyper vigilant to
So
look
so
at.
800 days after the bottom was April
It's
of
eight
this year
between
then.
820 and 840. Yeah, for the last 2 cycles.
Yeah, so I would everyone who's watching in the chat, definitely protect yourself around February, March, April. Just if you're up a lot, just who knows? You have to take profits and reward yourself if you're here now, because you sat through the last 6 months of just boringness when most people left. There's no interest in crypto really. There's still not much interest. Like this is still compared to 2021, I'd say a tenth of the amount of interest that we were seeing back then. I'm sure you can confirm that with data from viewership and just engagement. It's nothing like we've seen. So there's no interest yet. So we haven't seen the retail come back. We haven't seen Coinbase be the number one downloaded app. That's usually another red flag. So yeah, and really, even if you go back to last cycle, really the real top by most on-chain, which I don't really use too much, most on-chain data basically suggests. Oops, I'm like clicking my buttons.
Yeah,
You can
that
still hear me, right?
64,000 top, that first top was
Yeah,
the real top.
64,000 top was really like the top where there was the most volume. There was the most on-chain activity. If you look at the volume on this, actually, this is Binance. Let me go to Coinbase. Nope, that's not Coinbase either. Just give me a second. There we go, Coinbase. So the volume really started to spike. This was around $40,000. But if you look at the volume back here for this top, there was very low volume. So this was really, I mean, the most volume actually came on that when Elon announced that Tesla had bought Bitcoin. That was when most of the volume happened. And then even this move up too was kind of just not really on high volume at all.
Well, you can see it on the on-chain stuff. Even look, this is a top where the Puel multiple topped. That topped on that first top. Then you look at MVRV Z-score as well. If it's going to load, it's not loading. There we go. I mean, first top, look at this. Second top,
yep.
The R hodl. R hodl also shows. I mean, it's just, there's so many different indications that suggest, that this first top was actually the top. Reserve risk, I think, was the one I was meaning to pull up here. But the point being is, when people are trying to, and it does make it different this cycle because it is, remember, TA is speculative. It's a bit of an art form. First top higher. Look at this, much lower here. Where you're measuring the date from has made it a little bit challenging. But at the end of the day, if we just ignore all that, look at where we're at in respect to the Bitcoin halving on April 19th, where we look at what's going on with global liquidity. And when we look at the foundation of bulls that have been built since January 11th, when we had the Bitcoin spot ETF go live, and the fact of how much appetite has come in, and they haven't really even started pushing on those 330,000 investment advisors yet. Literally, it sounds so weird to say at $72,500. We've only just begun. Whether or not we top in April or not, when I'm looking out 10 years, 15 years, we're going to look back at $72,000. We're going to go, why was I worried about the price back then? No, man, there's so much I couldn't be more excited about all of us being here this early.
Yeah, I think if we look back at this probably in 10, 20, 30 years from now, we're just going to be like, wow. It's like when you look at the stock market, you look back at stocks from 2000, 2001, they're up 100x, 200x, just well-known stocks at that time. I think.
It's crazy right now. We're at 72.5. We are roughly, about $1,300, under 2%. We're under 2% from basically the all-time high that we've ever had on Bitcoin, which is incredible. I do think we might get a little bit of a washout here sometime in the nearest future. But again, it's hard to tell because of the pent-up energy that we've had from bullish buying fervor from smart money. But now we're pushing up to these levels. You start getting those sort of midterm, very small time frame blow-offs if retail gets a little too overextended. But golly, guys, we've been here. We've been waiting. It's feeling good, man.
Yeah, it does. And I don't know. Maybe, who knows? You would think a lot of people right now are getting giddy and opening up a lot of long positions. So maybe the market would need to, liquidate some people. But who knows? In 2020, when this took off, like I said earlier in the video, this just went straight up. This was actually even crazier. This was essentially starting at the end of October, Bitcoin was around $11,000, and we just had green weekly candle for 5 straight weeks. No, actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks in a row of green weekly candles before we got to 20,000. And then we had, some chop here, a red weekly candle, a green weekly candle, red, and then we broke 20K, and then saw another 4 in a row. Imagine we get something like that. Imagine we get like 5 straight green weekly candles for the next month or something like that. Oh my God.
And
Imagine.
will you actually go back? This will be fun. Everybody, this is not financial advice, but this will be a fun experiment. Look at let's say, look at the first 3 of those candles and what percentage gain was each one of those weekly candles?
Back here starting in October.
Yeah. See where you have that one big candle and then doom. How big? Yeah. How big was that one? What's the percentage gain on that one and the next 2 after it?
Let's see. So this one went up 13%. This one went up, let's see, another 12%. We had a bunch of these. This one went up, let's see, 15%. These ones.
So what was the second one?
20. It was, I think, 10, and then 15 was the third one. And this one right here, 22%.
So this is just a playful
12%.
experiment, everybody. But I just want to look at it. You said 15 was the third.
Yep.
All right. So
this one's 26%. So we just had,
dude.
Yeah.
I don't know how these moved, but check this out. This would represent a move to $95,000, followed by a move to $82,000. The next move would be up to $91,000. The next move would be up to $105,000. Now, will we get something like that? We'll have to see. But it's interesting now, and I pointed this out. I was talking with TJ earlier. What was really interesting about this frustrating boringness in the market, if you really think about it, this is crazy. We had this move right here, breakdown. That is, $16,000. Then this move right here is $15,000. Almost the size of the entire, look at this, $19,000. We had 8 moves throughout this, almost the exact size, a little bit smaller than the entire bull market that when we hit the all-time high and we could not believe, God damn it, we could not believe that we had broke up to $19,000. The entire 14 years or 13 years it took to get to this point. And then we just did the entire market cycle on swings in this consolidation range. And I want to beat myself up about this. When I see this, it's like, how did any one of us think this was frustrating? The entire size of the crypto market in 2017 on swings within a consolidation range. This is about to get exciting.
Yeah, it's easier to look at the Bitcoin price action too back in retrospect, obviously. I don't think anyone drew this out. I don't think anyone out there saw us chopping this many times. Maybe some people thought that we might chop a little bit like we did last year, but this was just how many swings did we go through? We had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like there was 10 different swings, up, down, up, down, up. And really the largest one actually was this one right here from 49K up to 65K. This was around a 33% move. This ended up being the largest move actually that we've seen in the last few months. And the funny thing was, and I'm not trying to like dig into other people, but there was a lot of people saying that this was not a high. And I was like, when I heard that, I was actually surprised because this was the largest move. How's that not a high? So when we broke above this and made this higher high and established that we were in an uptrend, it made, at least to me, it made no sense. Like this was a high, this was a higher high, and now we've just, this was an identified uptrend way back here. Once when we made this high back in September, we discussed this at the time. Some people said we need to wait till 70K. Well, ended up going to 70K. 70K was more confirmation, but this was a trend change once we started making higher highs and higher lows. And obviously now we're seeing this really accelerate. I'd say at this point, you wouldn't want to see it go below this 65.5K level. just because I'd say this is now a higher low at this point. But I think it'll be fine either way. And I ended up holding this. This was really when it started to show strength on these prior moves up. When we got to the high, right, we broke below it, the previous one, but this one held it. We kept holding it for the past few days. And actually, now that I'm thinking about this, I posted this back like a few days ago. Oops, let me remove all this. This is exactly what happened in 2020. How much time do we have left? A few more minutes.
We'll be wrapping out here after this.
So this was 2024, but we go back to 2020. This exact same thing happened. Right here, and I posted this chart too. This was like all these things align, like with timing and stuff. This was October of 2020. Literally the exact same thing. Look at it. Look at this.
Wow.
We made the higher high. This was the first higher high. We made the first high back here in September. Well, this wasn't a higher high, but this was a high back in September, a high back in September, end of September. Broke above it in October, broke above it in October, tested it a few times, and then moved up, And you could even, I mean, if I had more time, you could even look at moving averages. The moving averages are exactly the same, where it went below and then above. Let me see if I could just, is this a 10 SMA? Yeah, I'd have to look at more, but I did post a video a few weeks ago, like a month ago, with the moving averages being exactly the same, and it's just all is the same. It's crazy. So this is where we are potentially. Imagine, right? Imagine we're looking at something like this. We're like down here, right? Maybe, we might be looking at something like that over the coming weeks and months. So it's just, yeah.
We've been
crazy,
here.
Right?
We've been waiting for it. Everybody that's watching right now, you, Matt, you're such an asset to this space, and I'm always happy when I can bring you on here and share. You're such a clear. Your charts are so articulate with simplicity, which I admire greatly, and I feel very honored that you and I have become friends, and you pop on here and share that wisdom and knowledge. And big love to everybody. If you are tuned in on YouTube or on Twitter, make sure wherever you're coming from, make sure you're following Matthew Hyland at Matthew Hyland _. He's got a YouTube channel as well and a Patreon. Make sure you check him out. And of course, if you're coming from him, make sure you're giving a follow. If you want to enter, get some free stuff, just hit that retweet. We draw every Monday, but man, it's all setting up just like, you doubt it until it happens. You're like, is it going to go? Yeah. Here it is. It's doing just like you said, just like the last two cycle Octobers, and it's feeling good. We've all been stacking it. We just got to huddle strong and not get emotional.
Yep. And I think it's about to start, and we have probably maybe October right now, maybe like 5-6 months of good upside, probably, I think. And then we'll see what happens after that. But who's going to complain? Who's going to complain about 5 or 6 months of that? I mean,
I love it. I love it so much. But we're going to wrap this out here. I'm going to let Matt get on with his day. Everybody, hope y'all, take the wins where they come. If you have something that's in profit, it doesn't hurt you to rotate some initial capital out. Maybe either put it on the sidelines for a dip buying opportunity or another asset. But that's all we got. I'm going to end with the hold screen because it's got that Bitcoin pump music on it. So that's all we got for now, everybody. We're going to head over to Blockchain Basement if you're here on YouTube. But thank you again, Matt, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Take it easy. I'll see you, Kellam.
Adios, brother.
Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing.